Do you want your relationship to be more equal? Or do you want your man to be a leader? Majority say leader. Ladies, do you want your man to make more money than you? Majority of ladies say yes. I want my man to make more money. Ladies, do you want your man to be physically stronger than you? A majority say yes. Ladies, do you want your man to be emotional, whimsical, and easily persuaded? Majority say no. And so what are we really saying is women want men to be better. They want them to make more money. They want them to be stronger. They want them to have more leadership. And so, men, this is for you to level up and to be better than your woman. Yes, better. I just said it. Welcome to the TTT. I'm Ryan Smith, your host. Before I forget, please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel out. Share the love, and the more we can communicate and share, the better we grow together. Growing up, if I was asked, are boys and girls different? I would have said, of course they're different. But it never went beyond that. How do you articulate the differences between men and women, and not just the physical attributes, but what does it really mean to be a man, to be a woman, and can we articulate that? Well, you're in luck. If you're anything like me, that was a struggle and no one really articulated what that meant. And so that's what today is about. And this is definitely more of an emphasis for men, and it's titled Man Up for a reason. This is not just a existential questioning about what does it mean to be a man, but really what are the roles and responsibilities, and this is a real call to action. So if you're wanting to be comfortable and just stay where you are and the sad and stuck, then turn this off. But if you are wanting to level up your life and to really learn, and stay tuned. Ladies, in a questionnaire, do you want your relationship to be more equal, or do you want your man to be a leader? Majority say leader. Ladies, do you want your man to make more money than you? Majority of ladies say yes. I want my man to make more money. Ladies, do you want your man to be physically stronger than you? A majority say yes. Ladies, do you want your man to be emotional, whimsical, and easily persuaded? Majority say no. And so what are we really saying is women want men to be better. They want them to make more money. They want them to be stronger. They want them to have more leadership. And so men, this is for you to level up and to be better than your woman. Yes, better. I just said it. And so men and women are not equal. They are different, and maybe equal, and definitely equal in value. But women want men to be better than them. That's just the nature of it. And if you're honest, men, you want to be better too. So my role as a coach is to give the unvarnished truth, to keep it raw, real, risky, and take rewards. And so I want to just really break down the different roles and responsibilities of what it means to be a man here. And as you do this, I hope to up your game, and so that you can take life by the horns as a man and be the man that you are meant for. As you know, our society is attacking men. Men, you are under attack, and you cannot be passive in this. The CDC, the official, national government, in record, you can go on this, and it says, if I go down to my notes here, that the suicide rate among males is approximately 4 times higher than they are for women. Males make up 50% of the population, half, right? But nearly 80 times more likely to commit suicide. That's a staggering statistic, and it needs to grab our attention. And men are falling off by the droves. They're falling off, and we are under attack, and it's time to man up and be men. As I said, this is a place where I want you to just understand your role and to take it seriously. And most women, and let me just say this today is not there's 3 levels of thinking. And as LDS, telestial, the lowest, terrestrial, and celestial. This is not a telestial or a terrestrial mindset. I'm speaking to those that are celestially minded. You know what they say? Telestial is like the glory of the stars. You can barely see the light. The terrestrial is the glory of the moon, and the celestial is the glory of the sun. And it's a whole different ballgame. And so we're not talking about, if you are still debating if men or women are better, then this isn't for you. This is already coming with a lot of respect and appreciation and just right relationship with men and women. So if you're hoping to use this as some sort of clout to tell your woman to be better, turn this off right now. This is not that kind of, this is the upper game. This is the upper echelons of thinking about men and women and what it really means. And this is the heart of the whole thing. It's just downhill from here. As a man, your role is to recognize your greater purpose. And your greater purpose is greater than you. And once you understand that, you also understand the obligation. And the obligation is that you are willing to give your life for that greater purpose. And more on that later, but I really feel strongly that this is a call that you understand that a right to bear arms, that this is a call to action that you need to be willing to give your life for. And that's what it really means to be a man. More on that later, but let me back it up, okay? So I think maybe first of all, for you single guys, this was really important to me, and this is what landed me, I think, a few dates, if I can be completely honest. You women love that you take charge. They want to be pursued. And so if you feel attracted and you think that you can back up your attraction with honest hard work and you're willing to sacrifice, then you can go up to that girl and say, wow, you are stunning. You're beautiful. And I would like to take you out on a date. When are you available? And just give yourself that permission to walk up to a girl and take her by the hand and lead her. They love it and you love it too. And this also goes for you married men. You know, if you feel like your woman, she's like on the fence with you, or even on the ready to divorce you. But if you can look her in the eyes and say, honey, we are meant to be together, and you and I both know that. We got some bad past behind us, but we're going to work this through, and I love you, and we're going to do this. And if you can look her in the eye and say, honey, I got this, and, have a plan, you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, they will feel it. And that's what it means to be a man. And so this is about really being a man. And so women want that. And so don't be bashful. Don't be shy. Take charge, make a plan. Be the man with a plan, and take your girl on a date. So maybe the real call to action is take your woman on a date. Plan it right now. One woman said this: I would love to say that I'm a super confident woman that leads the relationship at all times, but I'm not. And that's cool. My husband, he's alpha. He's confident and has a strong presence and is more knowledgeable in certain things than me. He grew up, his father left him when he was 16, and he's been independent from his parents when he was 24 and paid the bills since that time. He leads a lot of the time, and I feel very comfortable with. I'm introverted and quiet. And so it's nice to have a spouse that's not quiet, although he can be introverted at times too. And so she goes on just saying how she loves that she can trust her man and he can follow through. And before we go any further, so a lot of this comes from when I read the book, The Way of the Superior Man by David Diaz. And in his book, he explains a lot of things, and I like to just kind of touch on a few of my favorite things from him. And as he started his book, he talked about how there has been, this book is kind of like fits the running dialogue of like history. And for thousands of years, primarily, women have been kicked to the curb. They've been second-rate citizens at best, and a lot of times were considered property, like not even human, which is disgusting, really, to even think of that. I can't even like really fathom that. And so a lot of the feminist movement for the last 100 years or so has been a reaction to that abuse and that inequality, and for right reasons. And I think the heart of it is a pure feminist ideology. I'm a feminist, and I believe that both sexes need a good shake at things, and that there is a need to praise and honor both. And I believe that is the heart of the feminist movement. However, I think it has been spun out of control and the pendulum has gone way too far, and the purpose of this is to bring it back in the middle and to bring it where there can be polarity, where there can be balance, and that men and women are different, that they do not have equal roles or the same roles. They have different roles. They are equal in value, equally important. They both need to be honored. And the thought that there's a battle of the sexes even at all is just crazy. We need both. And so hopefully you understand that. If you don't understand this, then you're probably not here. But if you have made it this far, you understand that. So I'm preaching to the choir on that. I think just to start out, one thing that's important is to say how the more masculine you can become, men, the more you help your woman to be feminine. And having the masculine and the feminine both coexisting, that's when the sparks go. That's when the love and the passion exist. There can be love, but that doesn't necessarily bring the passion. It's the differences that really bring the passion to the relationship. And so that's just important. And I in my podcast I talked, broke down where the premise of these real beliefs start from. And it comes from the Proclamation to the Family, given by President Gordon B. Hinckley in 1995, almost 30 years ago. And he talks about the different roles of men and women. Men are primarily have 3 P's, 3 roles. Women have 1: to preside, to provide, and to protect. And women are to nurture. And there is a leadership role that men must embrace. And that polarity creates a big difference. And so, men, when you understand your identity, things shift. And Mike Tyson, he said, identity comes first. I knew I was the greatest before I was. I knew I was the greatest before I was. And you need to know that you're the greatest before you actually are. Erna Werhart, opposed to having the have, no, be model, it is the be, no, have model. You believe who you are. So in order to be a millionaire, let's say it like this. In order to be a millionaire, it's not having money and then knowing that you're a millionaire and then you act like a millionaire. No. It is you think like a millionaire. You have the millionaire mindset. And then once you do that, then you start to know and start to have the strategies and you start to make the sacrifices that millionaires make. And then you have the $1 million, and it goes in that order. And so men, when you can know that you're a man, then things fall in place. And I think this is really important. A lot of women believe that they should only respect a man as their leader when they already are a competent leader. But this belief only ensures that your man stays stuck and you stay stuck in unhappiness. So imagine if we flip it the other way around. A man should only cherish his woman when she is already submissive and respectful. Until then, he should treat her like crap. That wouldn't make sense, right? He should always treat her like the lady that she is, and then she will become it, right? First, he proves that he's trustworthy, and then it makes it easier for her to trust him. Does that make sense? So, and yet the belief that it's okay for women to be disrespectful to man until he becomes a competent leader is equally toxic and nonsensical. So when I started to polarize my marriage and started to act more like a man, things started to happen. And I used the go first principle and cherished my wife as much as possible. And that is what created the polarity in the marriage when I started treating her like a lady. And that happened because I knew I was a man and I acted like a man. I knew I was the man with the plan. I was in charge, man. So, and there were times when she was resistant and even disrespectful, but I kept following through, and that's what has made the difference. So even if he isn't confident yet in himself, even when he makes lots of mistakes, even when you think you have a better plan, even when you think his decisions won't work, even when he's emotionally off-centered, and even when he's not considering your feelings, you still treat him like the man. And going back to big fat Greek wedding, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck. And you got to recognize that you are supporting and helping and you allow him. Because if you cut off the head, what's going to happen is he is going to be a sandbag. And if he's a little boy, then you'll have another little boy to raise. You don't want a boy, you want a man. And so treat him like a man. That's so important. And it goes both ways. So how you respect the man as the leader, you need to learn how to get out of the giving role completely and only receive. How to stop controlling through resisting your man as leading. How to use feminine communication at all times. And feminine communication means love, support, how you feel your feelings, to be vulnerable in your communication and express everything, and how to be able to use your emotion and your intuition while also setting boundaries. And I think that that's maybe a lesson for a whole nother day, but I hope that you have that commitment to stay in your essence and things start to change. So the way of the superior man is the meat of the topic, and the real heart of this is that let me just read this. The Way of the Superior Man by David Dia passionately tussles with the challenges that men face with women, work, and sexual desire. And it explores these issues from career, family life, women, and intimacy. And it just is very direct in an authentic way, and it's helped my marriage, and I recommend this book. The three takeaways from the book are: don't shy away from your woman's drama, actually embrace it, but be Shiva, be strong, be secure in who you truly are, and don't let her emotional tides of, the storms that come in to deter your castle. You got to be strong. And that creates the right balance of passion in your relationship. And how do you build your castle? You build your Shiva. It's by knowing who you are, what we talked about. And it's also knowing your vision and where you're going, and taking that time, not getting lost in the day-to-day grind and just saying this is how it's always been and that's how it'll always be. A true man is willing to rock the boat, shake things up, and maybe make a career leap or whatever it takes, even willing to risk his life for his vision, for his plan. And when you know that, that's when things magical start to happen. So some of the ideas from this book, let's see. The first thing that I loved right from this, there's so many things that I enjoyed from this. One thing I really enjoyed from The Way of the Superior Man is this idea that women never lie. And it's this thought that women speak from their heart, where men primarily speak from their brain. And it's more logical, but women speak more from their emotion. And so he gave us a great story of, let's say you know that it's the right thing to do to move out of state and go to Wisconsin. And in that, you guys make plans, and then you sell the house, and about a week before you go, and things are stressful. And your woman says, I don't want to move to Wisconsin. We're not doing this. And she has a panic attack, right? It would be very foolish for you men to be be like, what you said? Why are you changing your mind? You're making this really complicated. A real man, the superior man, will listen to her and say, what do you mean? Why don't you think we should move? And you will probably understand that there is going to be some other intuition that your logical brain doesn't see, that you missed. And so by paying attention to her, but you can't listen to her in a way that you listen to men, and just know, like, what is she really saying isn't necessarily what she's saying. And then maybe what she's speaking is more about the emotion of the moment. But let's say you have a great relationship and things are going well. That's when you can really know what she's really saying. For example, if you say, hey, let's go to the movies, and she's like, I hate the movies. Well, if you can give her a big hug and kiss and just like embrace her, and then change the temperature of the relationship, then she'll be like, yeah, let's go to the movies. And so partially the motivation is very emotional. And so by understanding that is an important aspect. Another thing that really I'm going to leave you with this book is this concept. If a man is truly honest, if he could only have his mission in life or a great intimate relationship, he would choose the intimate relationship. And that basically a true man understands that his mission is more important and has a priority over his relationship. And he gives a story of a man going to war. And if they maybe they're kissing on their doorstep and the woman says, don't go to war, I need you, I want you. And if the man says, okay, I won't go to war, she would lose respect, because a true man knows what he's about and knows his higher calling. And it's when he comes home from war that's going to war. Like, a true woman understands that a man has a bigger calling, and that's important. And so I think that's really been a key for me. This is my mission right here, right now. And I think that this has been enlightening. And I know by knowing that when things are off between me and my wife, I think just knowing that strong ground. And before, because my relationship with my wife was, it was like God, my wife, and then my career. When my wife and I were off, which wasn't always in my control, that really shook my foundation. But I think knowing that there's a sure foundation and knowing my calling, that gave me a stronger base. Does that make sense? Let me just read this. A woman's happiness comes not from her analysis, but from a relaxed state of body and mind and heart, allowing her to be free, unpredictable, and full of life. Requesting her to be and to analyze her emotions with her logical brain is asking to have a constraint and limits the lively nature of her being. Many women desire to be able to relax and to surrender in a relationship, confident, trusting that their man is going to take care of things, which allows them to exist in their pure energy, motion, and love. Let's say, here's my water bottle, and the water bottle is hard, and it's like a container, right? And the woman is like the water, and that's what gives the life, and that's what's the real juice. But if it didn't have the container, it would just spill everywhere. But a man is like a container that keeps things in, and it owns it, and it says, water, you're mine, and I'll take care of you. And because of that, the water can be free and do what it wants, because it knows its limits. And it submits to those parameters that a man has. So does that make sense? Teal Swan, I encourage you to look up that Teal Swan and type in Teal Swan container, and she talks beautifully about this concept of men and women and the different roles that they have. The most beautiful women, and this is a quote, are the women who will test you the most. This is a direct quote from the Way of the Superior Man. She wants you to be your fullest, most magnificent self. She won't settle for anything less. She knows it's true of you. She knows the true you. In your deepest heart of hearts, you are free. You are Shiva. Anything less than that, she will torment. And as you know, she's quite good at it. Another quote, her gift, if she is a good woman, is to test you in your darkest mood over and over and over again until your consciousness is unperturbed by her feminine challenge, and you are able to pervade and penetrate her with your love, just as you penetrate the world. In response to your fearless consciousness, she will drench your world in love and light. A man who stands in his fear and knows that he is fearful and is fearful, he is more trustworthy than a fearful man who isn't aware of his fear. When you recognize you're lazy, you can be diligent and you can make plans going forward from there. So what are we really talking about? We're going to close this up just the next little bit. Elder D. Todd Christofferson, in his talk, Let Us Be Men, said this: years ago when my brother and I were boys and our mother had radical cancer surgery, she came very close to death. Much of the tissue of her neck and shoulder had been removed, and for a long time it was very painful for her to use her right arm. One morning after a year of surgery, my father took my mother to an appliance store and asked the manager to show her how to use the machine he had for ironing clothes. The machine was called an Ironrite. It was operated from a chair by pressing the pedals with one knee to lower a paddle roller against the heated metal surface and turn the roller, feeding in shirts, pants, dresses, and other articles. You can see that this would make ironing, of which there was a great deal in a family of 5 boys, much easier, especially for a woman with limited use of her arm. Mother was shocked when Dad told the manager they would buy the machine and pay for it in cash right then and there. Despite my father's good income as a veterinarian, Mother's surgery and medications had left them in a difficult financial situation. On the way home, my mother was upset. How can we afford it? Where did the money come from? How will we get along now? Finally, Dad told her that he had gone without lunches for nearly a year to save enough money. Now when you iron, he said, you won't have to stop and go to the bedroom and cry until the pain in your arm stops. She didn't know he knew about that. I was not aware of my father's sacrifice and act of love for my mother at that time. But now that I know, I say to myself, there is a man. A true man sacrifices for his woman. He's willing to go without lunches, without everything, willing to give his life for his woman. 2 Nephi chapter 1, verse 21. The father speaks to his sons, arise from the dust and be men. In his talk, he says, by age, Laman and Lemuel were men, but in terms of character and spiritual maturity, they were still children. They murmured and complained if asked to do anything hard. They did not accept anyone's authority to correct them. They didn't value spiritual things. They easily resorted to violence, and they were good at playing the victim. True men, they know their relationship with women. There is no battle of the sexes. There is no room for being adversarial. For any woman who is afraid of masculinity, it's because they've never really experienced a real man. And it's your job to change the tide, to change the culture. This idea of toxic masculinity, of gender fluidity, those are oxymorons. There's no room for being adversarial. For any woman who's afraid of masculinity, it's time for you to meet a real man who will treat you like a lady so that you can be water, you can be free and open. Ladies, isn't that what you want? True masculinity brings up the best parts of men, and femininity brings up the best parts of women. And when those best parts collide, that's when the power begins. But the carnal nature, the natural man, the dual nature that we must overcome, that is the problem. Men are not the enemy. Evil, laziness, vice, lies, deception, control, the carnal nature without bridling your passions, that is the enemy. And so what I'm saying, men, please hear me in this. You got to be safe. You got to be that person that can be trustworthy. That is your role as a man, and you have to know it so well that you are willing to die for it, to give your life for this. Do you know what your calling is, and are you willing to die for it? If you answer no to any of that, you're not a real man. You got to know what your calling is, and you got to know that you are willing to die for it or any sacrifice, because that is your mission. If you don't, you're giving up your man card, and there's no wonder women lose respect for you. So men, what is your calling? The 3 P's, we talked about it at the beginning. Preside, take the leadership role to protect both emotionally and physically, and to provide financially, to put a roof over the head, the head of your children. And the thing is women, they have it different. They're, bearing children, like that is your women. You are risking your life by having a child, especially, before, modern medicine. I don't know the birth or the mortality rate, but by and large, the mortality rate was much different than it is today. And by having a child, you are risking your life. Many women died in childbearing, but they did that because they understood that was their role. And mothers, they stick by their children for the rest of their life, and they know what their calling is by and large. And I think men have a harder time understanding their role because they need to have a vision, and it's not necessarily written on their womb. They got to figure it out, and they got to think. They got to be the man with the plan. I just want to say this. Men, to preside, you got to be monstrous. You got to know your teeth. But there is a difference between a hero and a villain. A hero gives up their life for something greater. The villain, always their ends justify any means. And there's a difference between a dog and a wolf, or let's say a tiger. I'm more familiar with tigers and bears and lions. And there's a reason why you don't put a tiger in your house. You can take the tiger out of the jungle, but you cannot take the jungle out of the tiger. They're wild animals. They are unpredictable, and their carnal desire for food will overcome any training, and they can't be trusted. And so if they're put in cages or in zoos, but there's bars, and it's rare to pet a lion or a tiger because they are wild animals, and the risk is very high. If they want to eat you, and they can, they do. But a dog, it can, even when it's hungry and you say no, it will listen, and it's domesticated. And if it's not, you kill it, you give it to the pound. And men, if you are not domesticated, if you cannot control your appetites and passions, you're like a wild animal, and you deserve to be put under bars or even killed. You got to be able to control your passions. You got to be able to control, just like a sword. You need to have a sword. You need to be able to be violent, but you need to be able to use it. Batman, Superman, they have a sword. They know how to kill, but they're heroes because they know how to use it. That's a real man. Men are under attack. We talked about this, and no wonder. Satan wants to destroy men. A society without a backbone, without real men, they're easily defeated. They've already given up their man card. And just in war, if there is an enemy coming, before they shoot the first bullet, if they're smart, if they're able to, they're going to try to cut down the internet, the electric wires, or any ability to communicate. They create disorder first, and then they make it their attack. And so just same with us. If you cannot have order and the ability to communicate and know who you really are, you are more susceptible to the enemy. And so I believe the feminist movement has swung too far. And as I said, I'm a true feminist, but because I'm a champion of both men and women. We need both, and the differences do matter. And we talked about this is more of a celestial headspace than a telestial or a terrestrial headspace. So I invite you, if there's anything you disagree with or have any reactions, please comment. Please let me know. Tell me where you disagree. Iron sharpens iron. I'm humble. I'm just trying to figure this thing out called life as well. I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that this has stirred the pot and helped you solidify and come closer and focus what you truly believe a man is. I really believe that God holds you men ultimately responsible and holds you first. And a lot of the times, the battle of the sexes is brought up with the story of Adam and Eve. And I just want to say God said it was good 6 times before, and he created everything. And when order was given and when God commanded Adam to subdue, take charge, and put order to the earth, then and only then did he create woman from his side, not above or below, but from his side, close to his heart. And when it was all in order, then he put the cherry on top and he created a woman. And that's when he said, very good. It is very, because it's beautiful. Women are beautiful, and I hope, women, you never lose your femininity. I hope that this has been helpful, and and when we talk about feminine and masculine energy, this is what we're talking about. Feminine, masculine. Feminine is intuition, knowledge, receptivity, action, flowing, predictable, magnetizing, willpower, emotional, rational, nurturing, protective, vulnerable, problem-solving, grace, strength, subtlety, directness, cares what others think, not looking for approval, follows nature's rhythm, structured, creative, goal-oriented, destruction, conquering, circular thinking, incorporating the interconnectedness and cycles of everything, linear thinking, good at moving things along from point A, point B, linear. So those are some of the energy differences between masculine and feminine. Not necessarily boys and girls, that's the energy difference. David Popenoe gives a great book in his talking about how societies without fatherhood is the beginning of a corrupt society. And I just think that boys, when they don't have a father figure in their growing up in formidable years, what he proposes, David Popenoe, in his book Life Without Fathers, he says that these boys, they recognize they're different from their mother, and what ends up happening is they gain a disdain. They try to separate themselves from their mother, and what ends up happening is they swing the pendulum too far because they don't have a father figure to balance things, and boys develop a disdain and even a violence towards women. And this is primarily in low socioeconomic classes and in rural societies without fathers. But when there's a father involved, boys and teenagers particularly, they're able to maintain and bridle their passions, their testosterone. They're going through puberty, and they're able to channel that sexual energy in a good way. And even in the animal kingdom, on Animal Bites, they talked about there was a conservation park in Africa, and they saw all these rhinos dying, and they saw that these young elephants were killing the rhinos because they were in mute, I believe it's called, or rut, or when they have high testosterone levels. And they had three options. They could either kill the elephants, they could castrate the elephants, or they could introduce adult, fully mature bull elephants. And that's what they decided to do. And these mature, more dominant adult men elephants took these adolescent punk elephants to play nice with the rhinos and the other animals in the kingdom, and taught them what it meant to be an elephant. And even in the animal kingdom, even adolescent elephants need men. If they need it, how much more do we, understanding the spiritual and the emotional needs of true men? And what we talked about at the very beginning, true masculinity, is understanding your purpose and then being willing to die for that. And I know me and my wife, I'm willing to die for her. And when she knows that she has a safe place that I will protect, I will preside, and I will provide for her, whatever it takes. And when that happens, that's when the magic happens. John Elridge, in his book, Wild at Heart, said every man needs three things: a battle to conquer, an adventure to live out, and a beauty to rescue. I hope that you have. Let me say that again. John Elridge book, Wild at Heart, said that men need three things: a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. Men, you need to find out what those three things are. And once you do, you'll be willing to die for what? For these three things, because that is your calling. I believe one of the men in our days is Andy Elliott, and I want to reiterate some of his words. I want to leave you with this. There's someone out there on the other side of this YouTube or TikTok, this listening here, seeing me, and they're ready to change their life, and they know what they're meant for. There's the day you were born, the day you die, and the day you know. Let me say that again. There's the day you were born, the day you die, and the day your life changes forever. That day could be today. Find out what your purpose is. You're just one decision away from changing your life forever and putting your money where your mouth is and being that person that can give their life because they know they're going to die and they're going to spend their life in that pursuit. Far too many. And if you're honest, that person is you. Don't be that guy. Stop doubting yourself. Do not forget that you are worth it. Do you realize that the person standing in the mirror is no different than the man that made the mirror? Somebody made that mirror. Somebody made your house. Somebody made everything that you see. And that somebody is no different than you. Only difference is they had a dream and they believed in themselves and they never gave up. Don't disqualify yourself from what your purpose is. I'm living proof of this. As dumb as I am and as dumb as I was, if I can do it, so can you. And it starts with belief. So hold yourself differently. How you talk, how the energy you bring. I hope you feel the power. And if you've been a little perturbed, have some angst, and maybe even annoyed with you, then I've done my job well, because this is meant to arouse and to speak to you, men, to be able to truly feel the smack. You maybe get your eyebrows singed with the fire, that we are under attack and it's time to rise up as men. This is a man's world, and it's time for us to take charge. God did not say, this is not the God of Sarai, Rebecca, and Rachel. It's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When God came to Adam and Eve, he didn't say, where are y'all? He said, where are you? Men, you are ultimately responsible. I care about you. I love you. And I want you to know that I have your back forever. I got your back for life. I'm your friend, and you know that I'm your friend because I've been honest. I've spoken from my heart, and I want this to be a difference for you. I really want you to gain the emotional muscles to have the storm in life, to be able to run into the storm like a buffalo, not a cow. A cow runs away or just stands still when the storm comes. But the buffalo fights through and rides through the storm, and that's smart because the storm lasts less than if he just stands still. And so be buffaloes, not cowards. I'm going to love you and leave you with this. Know your calling. Be willing to give your life for that. And as you are a safe person for your woman and for the world, and you're dangerous and you know how to use your danger, you will be a man, and you can hold your head up proud because you know what you're about and what you're going to sacrifice to. You know what to say yes to and what to say no to. All right. Hope this has helped. We'll see you on the other side.